Good day, lords, ladies, and assorted gentry. I am your host, Burgerkrieg, reading slides by Lungora, and today is the day we embark on another portion of the journey of bloodshed, ruin, and death we call the r/Civ Battle Royale. Lungora tends to make maps for Civ on the side, cheer heavily for Champa Revival, and bother you great people on our official Discord server. Well, we have a Discord server? Why did I not know about... Why did you not tell me we have a Discord? What? He had less than a day to write all of the slides because the planned narrator lol JK'd out, and he still managed to write enormous amounts. Title card by Ruptor. Laxarax Ariscal and Malsistra have, like every other part, put together this wonderful map of the Battle Royale world. Take a good look at it because it will never be the same again. The Burrs are on top of the power rankings, and in other news, gravity is still in effect. Mazer Laser is back with another integral relationship part. Go over to the album and keep this open on your second monitor so as to fully comprehend the world we're living in. We leap into this part with a shot of the Mediterranean, where a small but decently advanced Moroccan fleet fights a smaller but just as advanced Spartan one, who, while having many more reinforcements, decide to keep them far from the fighting. In the bottom right corner, a Hawaiian engineer, lost and far from his homeland, which he probably does not know is long shattered, inspects the citadel construction techniques of the Ethiopians. These will surely help, should other civilizations ever dream of invading his prosperous home islands. The camera pans eastwards to the Sparta-Armenia front, where Leonidas the Younger, battle-hardened from millennia of warfare, personally commands his phalanxes of great leg day infantry out of the holy city of Jerusalem and into the plains toward Hebron. The distinct lack of shirts on Spartan soldiers is no weakness against the machine guns that pitter-patter onto their formation, as glorious abs of steel are far better than any other form of protection. Carthage is seen to fall, again, to the Spartan navy in the floaty text at the top of the screen. This city is no Bilma, but it's done this a fair amount. Oh shit, boys and girls and anyone else. It's happening! Henry Morgan, on a recent holiday to Lisbon, decided to glance south. Just an arbitrary look, but one that revealed so much. Standing there, erect in the old port of Marrakesh, stood and stands a gleaming lighthouse, one as great as they come. The Pirate King became jealous, called up his Finnish buddy in the north, who would always be happy for another exclave, and decided to get himself some booty. The Buccaneers have a tremendous Atlantic fleet, and a not-so-shabby land military either. While a vast amount of black-flagged vessels are carriers with no planes, even more are dangerously powerful advanced destroyers, long-range battleships, and fleet-ending amounts of submarines. Ahmad al-Mansur, however, has but a small navy, with even less ground troops. This should be a stomp if the pirates manage their units even marginally well. Salé, the largest city of Morocco, fed by near endless amounts of mutated fish from the radioactive waters of the post-Mali coastline, has been knocked all the way to black by the formidable 28 bombers that Morgan stores in his African colonies. There's still a bit of a carpet between any pirate units and the city, but this is a show of what's to come. Casablanca has also dropped in health, falling into the lower yellows. Vietnamese peacekeeping forces in the region stand in the way, however. An Armenian Great War infantry has managed to push past the Spartan offensive and retake Jerusalem for the pinkish banners of his people. While not a cavalry unit, he feels bolstered by the Prophet General by his side, and feels invincible as Spartans put pressure on the city yet again. Our friend, the Hawaiian engineer, seems to have disappeared. Maybe he heard of the fate of home. Brave Canadian mobile SAM units storm into the Inuit city of Iqaluit and batter at the walls of Hamilton following the declaration of war called into play by the White Walkers. They know their initial victories may and surely will probably not continue versing the power-armored mechanized artillery-backed invasion force of Akunik. What a sentence. I anticipate a long drawn-out war with lots of flips here. But with this fight and the invasion of Morocco, only one thing is for sure. There will be a fair amount less red on the minimap by the end of the part. Pulling up TA Knight's wonderful guide to future world units for info in another tab so I can talk to you about these bio drones. Here we see a unit that seems to be aptly described by the quote, "These will wreck your shit up to high heavens." Faster, stronger, longer long march and terrain bonuses, the Inuit have apparently taken the beloved Canadian loonie and turned it into a weapon of mass maple annihilation. Soleil has become vastly more undefended as they send their fleet against the seemingly near-invincible walls of Buccaneer and Moroccan. The Vietnamese desperately try to stab their way out of battleship rounds and pirate tanks to no avail. This war is going somewhere, and it's going fast. To the south, a pirate ship lays into the defenses of Kumasi, with most likely the help of no small air force in Gao. This city too is ready to flip. A field of red, green, white and black, including those Icelandic troops heading somewhere, takes up the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of northern Africa. There actually seems to be more Moroccan and Buccaneer units, but they're also more hurt and many have forgotten to leave the frigate behind in the museum. Should the Red Fleet win this confrontation, I can see them holding off the pirates and maintaining their homeland. With Vietnamese help, of course. Itatsipko, the latest stronghold of the Sioux before recent annexation by Canadian re-killers, has been captured by Inuit forces. There's some brick-shaped boats, an awesome-looking hovering thing, and a just overall lot of intimidating icy units in this shot. I feel scared for Canada. Both the Vietnamese and Australians are here to partake in their hobby of being annoying blokes that stand in the way of conflict and the rest of the fun stuff that it brings. Boston, Toronto, Granville and Regina have all fallen in the first Inuit push, turning from nice legible red and light gold into the hard-to-read, slightly eye-bleeding colors of a Qunic. The Canadian defense of all these cities, or at least the two we can see, looks feeble at best. The battle in the Eastern Atlantic rages on, but here comes the ARR's invasion force. Embarked troops and advanced destroyers surge across the ocean toward the conflict and loot. Morocco's normal destroyer fleet still stands in their way, however, though it seems they're having a hard enough time beating the pirate ships already engaged. Inuit Kamchatka, home to a few too many thousand Vietnamese soldiers, is only out-peacekeepered by Yakutian Kamchatka, where the Finns come in droves, mostly because there's nowhere else they can fit. Casablanca and Kumasi are plundered as Henry Morgan's troops shove a well-meaning Vietnamese out of the way. Kumasi is a capital too, if anyone at this point can remember the Ashanti, because it was theirs. It's now flying a skull and crossbones, however, and plays host to a large conquest party involving lots of rum. We can also see in this shot that Rabat and Kwazazate are heavily bombed, taking both down to hit points that just invite conquest. I've already talked about Kumasi briefly, so we're going to focus on the more interesting portion of this slide, the fact that Vietnam and Finland have made peace. What started as a way too hyped up war involving a trio of Khans, two sisters and an old guy in a sauna is now completely retired to the history books, with Vietnam in possession of what was Findia and the Mughal Empire before that. Who's next on Vietnam's annexation list? We can only wait and see. High-tech submarines under the ice, Champa-named cities in the far Inuit north, and I think Charlottetown has flipped. I'm not exactly sure what the agents of Nebi are trying to point out to us here by focusing their gaze on a Vertol. Maybe they're hoping for a pun. I'm not sure. The Canadians have way too many embarked units hiding from the Inuit and not enough defending, especially as Sarnia and Victoria's health bars drop to dangerous depths. I'm going to vertell you now, this will be a bloody war. Mexicans fall from the sky into the streets of Amskapipikani, a city that cannot be fucking real. Deep in the Blackfoot Mountains and surrounded by Blackfeet or Blackfoots, I can't say I think Benito will hold this one long, but I think it's a good sign for things to come. Ninin, a city I much prefer, is also ready to be captured, but Australian and Vietnamese forces in the region say different, blockading even the port with large floating siege pieces. Hamilton, an Inuit exclave, has been captured by Leicester Sams, who seem to have replaced infantry in the Maple Army. Regina has also flipped again, though it will quickly return to icy hands, and Toronto seems to have been bombed despite the lack of units that can retake it nearby. In the south, we see the White Walkers surge through the Appalachians toward Albany and Washington. Many Sams, entrenched in citadels, stand in their way, ready for a bloody fight to maintain Canada's independence. Morocco makes a pushback at captured cities. A destroyer sails into Kumasi, retaking it from the Buccaneer occupiers. Spartans are forced back into the sea at Carthage. The Vietnamese cry out in terror as more civilians die and more war is fought. More than a little hypocritical, but no one said they can't be. After seeing dozens of other AI games, those Burr XComs right in view scare me, though that is only if the sleeping Afrikaan decides to move again. You could almost say the resolution of this World Congress proposal seals the deal on another source of Inuit happiness and trade. Inuit clubbing will now have to be confined to venues with loud music and strobe lights and may not happen on Arctic waters. Wine is also banned, and I will try hard not to include a pun here. The Swedes in this shot must feel like absolute jerks now, citadeling Ravenna for what now amounts to a whole lot of useless grapes. I'm not sure if previous narrators have noted this, but we can see here that Swedish and Icelandic Europe is really being teched up as future rebuildings cover the once more idyllic landscape. Marrakesh is in the red, Fez in the black, and Braga is under heavy assault. The Moroccan fleet is shattered, workers jump ship to try and save their lives, only to be run into the waves by Buccaneer warships. War is chaos, and chaos is where the pirates thrive. In fitter news, Spartans have reconquered Carthage and are already planking over the ruins of thousands of burnt homes. On the island of Sicily, in the fields of grapes that feed Arentium, since some idiots decided wine was bad for your liver or something, there lives a solitary Hunnish worker. His empire has died long ago, but he cannot remember it. His father's 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 father might, but he does not. The Mediterranean leg day hoorah grapes. These are his life and all that he's ever known. It's a quaint and comfortable existence, if lacking a battering ram and the screams of women and children. TPang, in all of his wisdom, has shown 3 slides here of Braga slowly ticking down a yellow health bar as it falls to the loot-crazed captains under Henry's employ. This is the 3rd slide, and while it reveals nothing particularly new, it's a good spot to analyze the situation in the Mediterranean. Buccaneers are magic tricking Morocco out of existence. Sparta still has GWIs, and Vietnam's top tourist destination is Iberia. Iceland seems to have his Eye of Sauron watching the whole thing from Hastings, and like usual, Hawaiians are lost. Burr robots and XComs to the south loom ominously, in wait for a little sword-clashing animation pitting a horn against anything on the right. Jerusalem, the holy city of Judaism, praise YHWH, stays in Armenian hands. I'm not sure if it had ever flipped back to Spartan control despite the large force of gym-goers that surrounded the city last time we saw it. In the desert between Jerusalem and Gaza, we notice that Leonidas has procured himself some paratroopers, if a bit late to the airdrop party. While they won't be capturing any cities without siege support, a couple strong lads like these behind enemy lines can do a lot. That city with a lot of double letters and some accents has, against my initial assumptions, remained firmly in Mexican hands and even, I think, gained health while being so. Juarez has a lot more to fight, and these mountains are not helping him, but I think this war is definitely in his favor. I, however, am more interested in the northern front, where pairs of paratroopers are parrying it out in the mists of Old Faithful. I did a bit of Google foo to try and locate any information on this elusive Avro Arrow, which seems to neither have any solid stats located anywhere and is not one of Canada's unique components. Nothing turned up besides the fact that it's phased out from the most recent version of the Canada mod, and that it replaces the fighter. Canada, perhaps with the help of this Avro fella, has retaken Boston into the south and Granville here in shot. I'm actually legitimately surprised. Canada is holding off the Inuit bloody well. The icy tide is slowly moving forward, but the valiant Sams and... are those Great War Infantry? You know, what the fuck is this? The Inuit have power armor. It's against the rules to talk down to the AI, so let's look elsewhere, eh? See those Mexican units spilling eastwards into Inuit territory? Crazy, huh? I'd really like to get a shot of their core to see that carpet that just won't fit any more units. In Lake Ontario, we can also see an Icelandic scout. Someone is bombing Arabia. I think I missed a war and there's no ground invasion to guess from. Ethiopia would have stormed in already and I can't see anything else around. I happen to be thoroughly confused. I have looked forward and backward into this part, and there is no clues on who is bombing Mecca and Medina. I blame #Wallongate. It seems heroic Berbers have retaken most of their empire and are whittling the Buccaneer assault. Rabat, Casablanca and Saleh are all in Christmas decor again. Somehow, the Moroccans have distracted the majority of the visible pirate fleet to fight far north in Portobello, and have cleared all but a single paratrooper, waiting to take fares when the turn rolls around, from their African land borders. Good stuff, Ahmed. Any Moroccan fans in the crowd should pat themselves on the back for picking a team that can defend so well. Did somebody say pointless plotting? Here we can see that our spies are absolute rubbish and deserve to be doing something better, like saving this game from the inevitable return of Bolivar or something. And another capital is down. I do not take back my words earlier, as the Moroccans have infantry and artillery in place to flip things back. But the Buccaneers, now tasting the glorious extra naval movement of the Great Lighthouse at Marrakesh, won't stop here. Paratroopers are at the gates of Casablanca, and if Ahmad holds to the end of this part, I can definitely say with confidence he won't be here past the next. But now is no time for eulogies. No one is dead yet, except for all the countless civilian and military lives. And we've got more war to watch. TPang, help me out here. We've got mysterious bombers reducing the defenses of Arabia's 2 core cities, and no clues where from. Did I miss a war? Are the Boers long-range attacking but not mobilizing troops? Is there a glitch in the game doing this? On another befuddling note, Sparta is still unable to retake the Holy City. This is definitely the same turn with no changes from earlier, but we get a look at what remains of the Moroccans. Casablanca is ready to fall to eye-patched fighters. Tangier, the new capital, has no terrain defenses, and Utique, a former Carthaginian city, hosts plains, hills, and a mountain, and should let Morocco hang around a fair bit longer even if/when they lose everything else. Unless Ethiopia declares war, of course. Oh, Braga has fallen. I missed that. Good stuff, Henry. Playing a string note on his Cynthia, Morocco's greatest and last musician floats off into the Atlantic with his troop of bodyguards. They are in search of asylum in Brazil, and failing that, Chile. Workers man a fleet of ships as a wall to save their fleeing idol. A pointless attempt really, as pirate ambushes get to the instrumentalist anyway. His ship would be sunk by noon that day. Despite the will of the Vietnamese African peacekeeping forces, victory belongs to the Buccaneers. Back to Canada, we see that nothing is flipped or been captured. Several more cities are at lower health, and Inuit forces on the screen appear slightly more fatigued, but otherwise this war grinds on. Lester Pearson smiles on behind the scenes, thinking that I have forgotten he's fighting with Great War infantry. He is wrong. I did not forget. I know I've told you this war would be bloody, but I think I stand corrected. It's just going to be slow, and my lack of creative narrative will sadly slow it down further, maybe. Ikunik has more units in position to slowly extend his fronts forward, but it's a war against the turtle, and I think the Icy team is sleeping. How do they keep doing it? Well, I say that, but when we have a look at the less than satisfactory amount of pirate troops in the region, we realize that Al-Mansur, even without the endless reinforcements, has them outnumbered on the home front. I think the Boers are increasing their XCOM density in this region, but they've always got so many units it's hard to tell. A paratrooper, Spartan and proud, stands at the gates of Jerusalem, parachute fastened into a makeshift yet epic cape that blows in the wind. Bombers and batteries have opened up the city's lack of walls to his entrance. All it takes is another step and a short massacre, and the city will be his. His brothers to the north at Hebron are engaging in the glorious act of siege too, flexing and squatting while their support helicopters slowly rocket down the city walls, which do exist here. They also have awesome parachute capes, and this makes the GW infantry pretty jealous. Holy bombers Batman! The Finns, it seems, are preparing for round 2 and have brought backup. The paratroopers will fall out of the sky from aircraft rather than slings like traditionally. Update: I have gained news from our Lord and Savior Nebi, the all-powerful and all-seeing, that it is the Finns who are attacking the Arabians. Mystery solved. The Blackfoot seem to have re-engaged their defense drives and are aiming to take back that one city. Historians should call this moment the Fiesta Offensive, and while not as successful as OTL's Tet Offensive, and somewhere completely different, it's still doing something, I think. Inuit Medewan Canton 1 seems to be the central battlefield for this war, with both sides having open borders to duel it out on the cold, windswept plains. Bombers float overhead, making runs to destroy buildings in Hunkpapa. But it will take a long time, if ever, for the Blackfoot troops to push all the way down there in an organized fashion. And the bloodiest war of the CBR yet has come to a close. After a long, grueling and rather terrifying offensive, defensive and all other offensives, we can finally call it quits. Ethiopia has made peace with Korea. Thank Mk2, that's over. Re-evaluating the Arabian scenario with the knowledge they're fighting Finland, we can see that the few planes Al-Rashid has in Najran are bombing Batticaloa, but the lack of units fighting on either side will just leave us with hurt cities and nothing more. Here we see a nice shot of the Armenian Corps and have plenty of space and time to wonder how they continue to not lose, and why Sparta literally cannot even. Maybe Leonidas III is a teenage girl. Senshi Denshi does, by the way, want fan art of that. I can't say. What I can say is that at least Armenia built some units at all. There used to be only civilians and a couple of artillery groups. Now we've at least got an army, even if half of it is in the Black Sea next to the last legion. We return to Morocco for a pleasant view of what remains of the once rather large green on red empire. Citadels and sand. A settler tries to go somewhere but is surrounded on all fronts by now buccaneer cities. Carriers block the Strait of Gibraltar, but they are being bitten into by submarines. I know how I talked about a final musician earlier, but at that point I had assumed that the other two here would be dead already. Assuming is bad, kids. Don't do it. And stay in school. Canadian Sam surge uphill into Boston, taking it back from the Inuit. It's a minor move, however, in the Greater War, seeing as Regina and now Victoria are both frozen over and hard to read. Here we pan on up to the domain of Canada's foes and spectate that Granville has reflipped and Sarna has been taken. Rip, Avro fella, I guess. Last war, the Canadians had a solid battery of artillery on this peninsula that kept the ice sheet fleet at bay and Canada safe-ish from harm. This time around, they rely more on SAMs. A fresh break from Africa and North America, we get to see the Icelandic Isles, home to an advanced army of cybersubs, quick and long-range murder tubes, arsenal ships hailing from Holloway, London, and the advanced destroyers we all know and love. Sweden's navy and army is in tip-top shape too, even though I still see a small amount of wooden boats. Morocco is sticking to their Berber traditions of being an absolute pain to annex. Marrakesh flips back to the plucky West African almost dead underdog. Henry Morgan's land forces seem to have sat still in favor of either defending current lands or just because they're kinda lacking. Rabat looks to fall as well, but the pirate fleet is right there, so I hope that AA gun doesn't get too hopeful. Saskatoon and Boston fall, as does Regina. The Inuit have brought a strong force in from their Texan holdings to bolster their chances, and the northern front is looking even more and more one-sided too. The Canadian Corps becomes even more sparse. Tongue Twister City is retaken by Crowfoot. However, while his black-footed paratroopers are fighting well, there's no denying that the Aussies and Viets happen to be the best defenders in this war, or Aninin would have fallen a long time ago. The Trong sisters don't want their northern neighbor to get it on with anyone else but them. Such a fight would be hilariously one-sided. one side being a carpet of doom and the other side being the burr-impeded Mongols. All that's required is the sisters to make up their minds to fight. One AA gun remains as Morocco's last melee unit. The rest is either civvies or artillery and machine guns, and so few of those too. If only the Buccaneers had more than a sixth of the troop Vietnam has in their new Moroccan territory. I think I see Sparta hoorahing towards Utique too, accompanied by war drums. What can I say about Canada that I haven't already? I despise the lack of normal infantry, I laugh at all the SAMs, but their tenacity is inspiring. The Inuit picked a slow war to fight, and I could really do with some more bloodshed in the region. Also, Australians, seriously, go home. There's no prawns, barbies, fosters, nor crickies here. It's not that kind of outback. The Burrs and their transhumanness make some crazy sounding gene vault thing. I've got no idea what it does right now, but in a couple of slides we all will. Honestly, I'm surprised at how tame this carpet appears. Sure, we've got hover tanks and robots, but most of it is just paratroopers. The city defenses are the actual terrifying part, come to think about it. Just compare these 150s with Ethiopia's under 100s above. Whoever takes on the Burrs needs some hella strong cannons. I think this one is tentacles or something. I swiped forward to its description and it's certainly scary. High-tech Great Wall with added death trap improvements. Yay. Just scanning over the map, we get a glance at Persia with their hilariously low pop core, ignore Pasargadae please, and the Ethiopian carpet spread that accompanies it. Vietnam has already covered their Indian lands, and the once again Afghan cities have reached some decent sizes, adding more much-needed productive territory if the Watermelon Dragon has it in its future to take on the Oranje menace. Lapis Lazuli and tea are banned. The cries of pain from English ghosts and people who like to dye things blue can be heard to Hitler's moon base. A crippled Buccaneer stumbles into Ouarzazate, and Morocco will not be able to take it back. T-Pang obviously has some sort of vertol fetish, I think. Maybe just the Inuit ones, but it's pretty undeniable. Winnipeg and Iqaluit are in the red and ready to flip, and Saskatoon to the north is Canadian again. Has anyone been counting Boston flips? I haven't, and I'm curious now. It's like every time we return here, it's got a new owner. Ethiopia, a long stretch behind the Future Club, has just entered the information era. Soon, they will be using smartphones in place of human interaction, and spend way too much time on Reddit like the rest of us. Now for these wonders the Burrs built. This one seems to make a bunch of improvements better, though I doubt the Burrs really need a little bit more gold, culture, or science with their current outputs. Either way, nice grab. This is the far better of the pair though. Late game Great Wall is just superb, as anyone that watches the AI at all knows. They have the hardest time with rough terrain, and now the entirety of Berlands is rough terrain with brambles. I mentioned that Mexico probably has a carpet earlier. This shot proves me wrong, it seems. They have so few troops that I bet the second plotting is Sri Lanka also looking at this land with smiling eyes and a football team-sized force of riflemen. But look up there at Aninin. There is no more Aussie UAV in the way and instead a Mexican tank rolled up at the doors. The second plotting was not Sri Lanka sadly, but an Inuit glare pointed at Osaka, where the Japanese sit happily with their wooden ships and Canada-tier soldiers.
Oh no, don't kill us. We like who I saw on the snowman. Kill Blackfoot instead.
By a bad haiku poet. Somewhere in the background, Leonidas managed to get his tan, fit hands on Jerusalem and an army to march northwards at Hebron. It's a slow war, but one for many, many opportunities of shitposting. Sabia looks on, eyes wide. Sparta, on the other side of their empire, besieges Utique. Hills defend the city from naval bombardment, but Leonidas has moved in a detachment of artillery that will surely enable Morocco's mountain holdings to be taken. Boston flips again, Canada defends, Albany and Washington are waiting to be captured, Hebron falls to Spartan might. One of these is not like the others, but more on that next week, as now it's time for the Info Addict slides. The Boers and the rest of the club lead in population like normal, nothing out of the ordinary here except maybe how high up Iceland is. Morocco, with their small clump of desert, is dead last, followed by Mountain Hermit Tibet, One Island Wonder Hawaii, and the city-state of Texas. Kruger leads in military, followed by Vietnam and Australia. Korea's military is interestingly strong. Australia owns the most land, even with it being mostly water. And the Inuit are up there too, and the rest of the gang follows. Smaller empires are now joined by Morocco, who I'm pretty sure was above this one at the start of this part. The Boers maintain a strong 10-tech lead over any of their competition. See Finland dropping behind and the Arabians in place 13. Mimicking the last slide mostly, a few location changes. Be aware that while some civs may have higher science output, they may also have more cities which drag down tech advancement. The Boers enjoy fine cheese and well-aged wine. Everyone else, not so much. Catholicism enjoys its strong lead in the religion department, but Judaism stands strong too. Islam is still utter rubbish, in case you forgot. And here's your religion map. I've been Burgerkrieg, reading slides by Lungora, last minute narrating, and this has been the r/civ Battle Royale. Thank you all for reading and listening, and I apologize for the lack of puns as well as the few I did include. Be sure to tune in next week for a brand new installment.